Today you see a really pretty blouse with a ruffle that's really ruffling over here. Hi sewing friends, I'm Karina from liftingpinsandneedles.com. Welcome to this channel that is all about sewing, limitless sewing, and I have a woven project to share with you. It's pretty fresh off my sewing machine and I'm super excited to share. This is a pattern that I sewed for my Patreon page, the Orchid Tee. If you join my Patreon page, the Orchid Tee, you get a full detailed sew along every month, and there's a poll system where you get to vote. I had been putting this pattern in the polls for a while. It was always coming in second, so finally I was able to make it. And this is a pattern from Style Arc. I haven't sewn a pattern from that brand in quite a long time, but I have sewn quite a few already. I have a playlist on my channel. Really nice design, and I've had this one for quite a while in my pattern collection in my computer because it's a PDF pattern. It's called Francesca. What drew me in here was the liner and the special neckline. Have a look over here. It's a V neckline, pretty deep-ish, not that deep, but then we have a ruffle coming from that V neckline all around here. It's really pretty, and I think it's unique. I've never seen something similar to that. I've seen other ruffles in necklines that are way up here that I haven't been compelled to like because I just find them too high and they look sort of old-fashioned, Victorian style, totally not my style. But I like this ruffle because it's a V and it's lower and it's sort of more delicate around there, so I love that. Inside, the neckline is finished with a facing all the way around, so it's a really nice clean finish. It's a blouse with nice shaping. There's darts here on the front for the waist and the back. The sides have shape. It's not a boxy blouse at all. It hits around the mid-hip, has a long sleeve with little pleats over here and a cuff. 5 buttons down the front. That's what the line-out shows. I was just so excited to sew it up because I've been looking at it for such a long time. The Francesca is for light to medium weight woven fabric. It's not for knit fabrics. I wouldn't want to make this with a knit fabric. I think the ruffle would just flop and it wouldn't look good. So let's stick to the nice wovens that we love. I've always said that wovens are my first love. It's how I started sewing. It's how I learned to sew. Here, you don't need any drape for this design. I think if you chose something really soft and drapey, those ruffles might collapse and they won't stand up. That's what I think would happen with really lightweight 100% rayon or a really light crepe. A heavier rayon like a rayon twill or a tencel tulle, that would be okay in the drapey department, but you don't need drape for this design. I think it would certainly be easier for you to work with a more structured fabric. It doesn't have to be heavy. So all your cottons for garment sewing, cotton lawns or shirting, poplins, sisaka, chambray, even a lightweight denim. Then we have linen, 100%. Pure linen would be amazing. I think that ruffle would really stand out. And then there's the linen blends, linen rayon blend, linen cotton blend. The fabric I chose, I wouldn't say is super drapey. I wouldn't say it's super structured. It's right in the mix there. It's a medium weight fabric. It's got 70% rayon, 30% linen. So it's really nice. It's not transparent. It's easy to work with. The wrong side is a little bit different than the right side, so it's perfect for filming a tutorial. So I'm super happy with my fabric choice. Although you'll see the colors are not my typical colors, but I can still make it work. Other notions you need are a little bit of fusible interfacing for the facing pieces and the cuffs, and a few buttons. I used 7 in the end, not 5. But sizing in Style Arc is not the same for all the patterns. The sizing for the Francesca blouse goes from 4 to 30. In this one, you can buy PDF files that have several sizes in there, multi-sizes. So there's several. I bought the range that comes from size 10 to 22 because my size that I'm sewing is in there, but there's other size ranges as well. Goes up to a 61-inch hip. Now, when you download your pattern, you don't see the size chart there. I always have to look at the website to see the size chart and write down everything. So you can see right here, the size chart, size 16, that's what I am right now. When you look at the ears, we have around 2.5 around the bust, which is perfect. Going down 4.5 at the waist and around 3 at the hip. It is described in the website that these are drafted for 5'6" and a B cup. So there is the first little asterisk for me. I know that I'm a C cup. Even though the difference is not that big, I know I always want to get the best fit that I can. So that was the first pattern adjustment that I knew I was going to have to make. from a B to a C, it means I'm adding 1 inch in total to the front pieces. We're just adjusting 1/2. We're doing a 1/2 inch adjustment right there. Now that dot on the waist, don't let it throw you off. The lines that you do for the full bust adjustment are the same. You just do them outside of that dot. So you can see what I've done there. You can see that this dot is a cutout dot. It's a quite large dot. I did not want to mess with it or alter it in any single way. And I did want to generate my side bust dot. I have a full video on this channel in detail about full bust adjustments, and I have no issue generating a side bust dot here and leaving it there. There's many designs where you would find a bust dot and a waist dot, so I have no interest in closing up that dot. Although in the Patreon sew along I did show how to close it up, and the effect it would have on the sides, it would sort of swing out to the side, and it's not the effect that I was looking for at all. So my blouse is going to have a side bust dot there. If you see the liner, you see that we also have shaping dots at the back, which I love. I have added these to patterns that don't have them sometimes, but this one has it, so I was extra happy. What I did know though, that it wasn't correctly placed for my waist height. I'm quite short-waisted for my height. I know exactly what it measures from here, the base of the neck, down to the smallest part here. I know what my body measures because I know that by heart. And comparing that to where the widest part of the back dot was, it was not going to work. Not committing to these dots that were on the pattern because I knew that they were not going to work for me. For sewing, we use a 3/8 seam allowance for the whole pattern. The whole full detailed sew along is on my Patreon page, but I'm going to share over here a little snippet of how this ruffle goes between the layers of the neckline and the facing, how this comes to be. You'll see it's not too complicated with a dramatic effect. And I'm thinking now I want to borrow this ruffle and put it onto other patterns that also have a V-neckline finish with a facing, because it would totally work. So let's see. These are the main pieces for the Francesca blouse. This is the front. You can see the cutout here. That's going to be the dot. This is actually the seam allowance from this cut edge, 3/8 there, and there's a dot there that marks the tip of the dot. This is a bust dot that I generated with the full bust adjustment. If you're not doing that, forget about it. This is the back that's on the fold. Facings here for the front, interfaced. The back facing there, interfaced and on the fold. Here are the other pieces. This is the ruffle. That's the piece that was cut on the bias. There's going to be a center back seam there. This is the sleeve. On the back, there is a sleeve dot right there, which is something different. And going down the bottom towards the back part of the sleeve, we have some tucks or pleats down there. And those are the cuff pieces, both interfaced. I've brought out my ruffle piece. I had pinned it together in the phase of cutting, so that's already done. And now I'm going to sew it together with 3/8 seam allowance. This isn't a seam you need to finish. It'll be pressed open, and because this is going to be folded wrong sides together, this seam is going to be enclosed. Now I'm going to head to the iron and press this center back seam open, and then extending it really carefully on the ironing board, I'm going to fold this wrong sides together lengthwise like this all the way to the point right here. And then we're going to come back and do gathering stitches from one point to the next point on the other side. I noticed that the fabric was still moving around. There's a lot of rayon in here, 70%, so it's not as structured as other fabrics. So I went ahead and hand basted the edges just to keep them there in place and that I don't have my ruffle twisting. So now I'm going to do the first gathering stitch with a 1/4 inch seam allowance. I've put my 1/4 inch presser foot just to help me there. And I'm just using the longest stitch length I have to do this gathering stitch. I'm going to do them in 2 sections. So here is the center back seam and I'm going to stop there. I think it's going to be easier to manage that way. And I'm going to start again after that seam until the end. I'm going to do the second row at 5/8 of an inch. The space between there is going to land exactly where the 3/8 is going to be when we sew the facing. So that's why I'm doing these distances here. Here I have the blouse back. It's extended on the table, right sides up. Here's the back neckline. I had marked since the beginning my middle point there with red. And then when we go off to the front neckline, reaching the center, you're going to see that red little line right there. That's where the ruffle's supposed to stop. So just keep it nice and neat there. I'm going to bring my ruffle, find my center back seam and align it to that little line that I marked. I'm going to put a pin here. And then I'm going to keep going over here. And this tip of the ruffle is supposed to reach. So I'm going to let it pass a little bit so that I can catch it with the 3/8 seam allowance I'm going to use later. From the line, I have about an inch hanging off this way. When we sew the facing at 3/8, it's going to catch that section there, and that's where the ruffle is going to start. So look at all this. This is the length of the neckline, and this is the length of the ruffle. So this is the half section that I'm going to gather first, and then I'm going to do the other side. I think it's easier to manage like this, and I'm going to start pulling here from the center back and gathering the ruffle to match the length of the neckline that I have underneath. Okay, I managed to gather it all. That's the tip right there of the ruffle. They're quite bulky ruffles because we have 2 layers here. It's not like when you're sewing a single layer. So I think this could be the fiddliest part of the blouse, but it's going to be so worth it because it's such a unique feature. Totally worth the time it takes to do the ruffle and tidy it up. And this is just half. I've just done half here. Then I have to do the other half. I strongly suggest you do it in 2 sections. Gathering all in one go for such a long length here would be really hard to manage nicely. So now I'm going to go ahead and do this other side. The ruffle is ruffling. It's pinned on all the way, and now I'm going to baste it on. I'm going to be using just a slightly larger stitch length, 3.5, and I'm going to be basting this on within the seam allowance, just a little under 3/8 because that's what we're going to use to sew the facing. I don't want this seam to be seen later. And I'm just going to go adjusting the gathers as I go. What I've done after preparing the facing is put it right sides together with the blouse. Now in these center areas that are straight, we're just going to have the 2 layers there. In this section, it's easy. I've got pins. There's nothing to worry about. But when we start getting the curve and the gathers in between, I decided to hand baste just to make my life easier and to keep everything nice and even. This is the shoulder seam of the facing that matches the shoulder seam of the blouse. I had marked the center back here of the facing to match the center back of the blouse, another shoulder, and another center of the neckline, and then pins again. Now at the bottom, this is something I like about this pattern. It has you do this technique where you sew the bottom using your hem allowance and then you flip it. It's such a nice way to do it. And that's how I do all of my jackets and blouses. I'll be happier with a larger hem allowance. So I'm going to use 5/8 right there. And then all the rest is going to be 3/8. Right here, I'd prefer to finish the seam and then start over so that we have an intersection of seams. It's much firmer and it looks nicer than just pivoting, in my opinion. Okay, here is the back neckline. It's curved as you can see. So I'm going to do some snips through all the layers here. This facing is going to go completely to the inside and we don't want the tension of the seam allowance there, making it wavy and not lie nice and flat. Now this neckline is pretty much straight. Maybe I'll do a little snip close to the bottom here, but that's about it. And then all of this is straight as well. I'm going to understitch. This is from the wrong side. I don't want to understitch through there, so I'm going to understitch close to there and then start further from this area. And same as when I go down, after I flip this one, let's flip the bottom. I'm also going to understitch as much as I can, but I can't really get to the very bottom right there. This is another presser foot. This has an L on it. It's also a type of blind hem presser foot, but different. When you move this, it moves this edge in or out, so you can actually get whatever seam allowance you want, and it's really helpful. I've set it here to about 1/8 of an inch. Now I'm understitching. I'm starting from the bottom. Can't get all the way to the bottom, but as close as I can. Easy while I'm going up the straight edge. Now at the neckline, there's a lot of ruffles, so I've lengthened my stitch length just a little bit, a few layers. The facing here is on my left hand, and the seam allowance is tucked right here underneath. After understitching, I'm at the iron. I have already pressed this side flat. I'm going to do it in sections. So knowing that everything's where it has to be, I'm going to hand baste this down so that it's nice and smooth and there's no twisting or moving around of the fabric. This is the way I do all my facings and they turn out really, really nice. I've never had any problems with them. Now I'm sewing this from the wrong side just so I can keep it neat. I'm using the inner edge that's serged as my guide, quite away from the basting stitches. Okay, I have my blouse on and at the back, I'm just going to place my hands where the small of my back is. I know exactly where that is. It's where my waist is. So I'm going to get a pin and just put it there horizontally, just so that I know what height the widest part of the dart needs to be at. I actually don't know where I'm pinning right now, but it'll be a reference. Okay, here's a pin, there's a pin. They're actually quite level, even though I was doing it blindly. So I'm going to measure from the bottom up to the pin how much I have. Here where my red line is, which is the bottom of the dart, it's 14 centimeters. So I'm just going to mark that right there. And I'm going to do the same with the other one so they turn out symmetrical. Now from looking at the pattern, I know that the width of the dart was 1 inch. The wide part of the dart was 1 inch. I'm going to go ahead and make it a little wider. I'm going to make mine 1¼ inches. So from each side, I'm going to measure 5/8 of an inch. Just because I have a lot of space here at the waist, then I can do with a larger dart here. So I'm going to mark my distance here, 5/8 of an inch on each side. And this is going to be the widest part of my dart. And now I'm going to draw the dart. From the top, I already had the line, match it to that dot right here, and then from the dot to the bottom. And I know now that the darts are going to fit my back shape properly, not like the ones that were in the pattern, where this widest part was much lower, it wouldn't have fit me. There we have it. There is my waist dart that's going to fit me correctly on the back. And now I'm going to repeat the same and draw my dart right here. While I was sewing and in the middle of sewing, there came a time when it was the moment to do the side seams. I didn't just want to sew them up because I knew I could customize this as well. I'd already customized the back darts. I was really happy with that. So I tried it on again with the pins and I decided to take it in at the waist a little bit more. So at the height of my waist here, put a pin and I took it in a further 3/8 of an inch. Also a reminder that when you do a full bust adjustment, it not only added an inch to the bust, it added an extra inch to the waist and the hips as well. So I sort of took that back in at the waist so it just looked better on me. I always wait to do those things after the neckline is finished because I don't want to mess with that. Once I got the facing and the ruffle in, I'll be happy to put it on and off and on and off many, many times. But before that's done, I try not to do that because you can end up stretching everything out. Check it out. It's a really different color, not the typical colors that I use. I've been trying to get more neutrals into my wardrobe lately. I've been trying to expand and not wear everything red or everything black and beige or black and white. So I think this is great. It's going to go with a lot of different styles of bottoms and colors on the bottom. Now, if you see here, maybe you see that there's a bit of pattern matching going on. This is a placket. There is the button, the facing, everything. You can see the big leaf comes here, the little leaves, this leaf over there. And you might think, oh, wow, she took such a long time to match that up. I actually noticed this when I was filming the lookbooks and I was editing the part where I show you this model. And I noticed, I'm like, how did that even happen? Somehow it happened without even me trying. I suppose that when they weaved and printed the fabric, they had them matching up from selvage to selvage. This is the V neckline over here, the ruffles that come from between the facing and the neckline. Now at the bottom, there's these little pleats here, and the cuff is sewn just like you would sew on a knit cuff. Everything was super enjoyable. I really enjoyed having little pauses to tweak some fittings, like the back darts. You know, I'd already completed parts of it to customize these back darts to my shape right here. I love that. So nice. And then on the front, we have the buster on the side here that is extra from my full bust adjustment. You can barely see it, but it's right there. And there is the dot here from the waist. The facing, little ruffle in there. If you've ever sewn a cuff onto a sweater or something with a knit and you just sew it around and serge it, that's it. So you can see the seam there. I've pressed it down. So it was really, really, really easy. There's no slit, button, nothing. It was very, very easy. This is what I mean about taking in the waist a little bit. So you can see my seam allowance is 3/8 at the bottom. But then at the waist area, the seam allowance gets a little wider and then it goes back to the 3/8 right there. Tweaking, that is what I love the most about sewing. I think we're not entitled to get a pattern that fits exactly to our body because most of us fall out of the standard or the averages that you use for waist heights and things. I think we're perfectly able to do these little tweaks and customizations to get the best fit. And it shouldn't be a negative about the pattern at all. I don't see it as something negative that I had to adjust that because I know that I'm taller. I know that my waist is shorter. I know what my typical changes need to be. And I'm quite happy to do them. This was so enjoyable. Let's see it on. I've styled it 5 ways. This is my Francesca blouse from Style Arc. This is a size 16. This one's drafted for a B cup, so I have done a full bust adjustment to take it to a C cup. I've lengthened the sleeve a little bit and customized the shape of the back darts. But otherwise, it was pretty straightforward to sew, and I was expecting those fitting changes. I really like the length here at the mid hip, and the amount of ease is perfect. I did take it in a little at the waist while I was fitting this, and I think it's good. The darts at the back are really nice to give shaping, so this is not a boxy blouse. I don't feel I need to tuck anything in. It's perfect. The cuffs were really easy to sew on these, and there's a few pleats there. Really nice sleeve, very comfortable. There are darts on the front, and I generated a buster on the side with my full bust adjustment, which the original pattern didn't have. Look at this neckline. This is what drew me in, the V neckline. It's finished with a facing on the inside, and in between we have those ruffles, and it's a really nice detail. Sleeve fit is very good, shoulder fit, very comfortable, good mobility, and this ruffle is so beautiful. Let's throw this hair out of the way so you can see how it looks like on the back. It stands up. The Rayon linen blend I used is perfect medium weight. It's not too drapey or too structured. It's right in the middle, and it highlights the detail of the ruffle beautifully. It's not floppy, so I'm very happy with my fabric choice. I know a lot of you would not pair this with red, but I like it. It's like a golden color with beige. I don't know how to describe it. I love the leafy print, and it's beautiful. Really loved sewing it. Let's see it styled more ways. While I was sewing it, I always knew that navy was going to be in the mix here. This could be replaced for dark denim jeans, linen navy pants, or this beautiful knit pull-up skirt that's fitted at the waist and hips and then flares out. So again, I feel unbalanced here. No need to tuck in. I can just wear my beautiful blouse and live my life and be comfortable. I really, really like this. Got a little golden bag there in leather just to bring in the color of the blouse, because it's not gold, but it's sort of there. It's a color similar to that, not usually what I wear, but I'm very happy I took the plunge and sewed something in a different color. Of course, this would look great with white. I've got a white denim skirt with white sneakers. This is a really comfortable casual outfit. I could replace this with white jeans and it would look amazing as well. Gorgeous. Really love it. The fit. I think the fit is so nice because it has all the shaping, but it doesn't make it a super fitted top either. It's not boxy, it's not shapeless. I think it's really well made, and I'm glad I did the little tweaks to make it fit me better. It's so nice. It gets a little hot, I can just pull up the sleeves, just scrunched up there if it gets a little hot. Of course, brown was gonna go really well with these neutral tones. These are linen pants that are cropped, and this is nice, really love it. I have a pencil skirt in the same brown linen. I made these pants. That would be another way to wear it. And this is nice and casual, but it looks like I made a little bit of an effort. Love it. I know crop pants are not for everyone, but they are for me. And I love the combination here with the brown. I think it goes really, really well. Keeping a brown bag, I think everything goes together really well. And I love those ruffles so much. And as always, I couldn't keep out the jeans that are going to go well with anything that you sew. I've got gold sandals here that match the top really well, a beige bag, And again, no need to tuck in. I think the blouse dresses up the jeans beautifully. And I actually wore this exact same outfit out to the dentist this morning, and it was great. Loved it. Felt amazing at the dentist. I really like my dentist. And yeah, I was happy to wear something that I made, something nice, something comfortable that has a special detail, and I felt amazing. If I had time to make another one, I would make a short sleeve one, make it a little shorter maybe, and make it type of a little jacket. 100% linen, so the ruffle would really ruffle over here, really stand out. That would be really nice to wear as a little top eye, wear it open, wear it closed on top of things. I think that would be really cute. Tell me what you think about this ruffle. I know it's something different. I promise you, I've already worn this, and today in the morning I had a dentist appointment to get my checkup and do some cleaning, all that stuff. And I went over there with my jeans and my blouse, and I felt amazing at the dentist. Yeah, it's something I really wanted to wear, and luckily the weather was okay for me to just wear this and not be cold or hot. It was just perfect. So yeah, something I really wanted to wear, really wanted to sew, and I'm really happy to have shared it with you. I don't have an affiliation with Style Arc. They don't have an affiliate program, but I will still leave you the link of the pattern down there in the description box if you want to have a look. It's a really nice pattern. I really enjoyed it. That's all from me. So make sure you're subscribed over here so you don't miss out the fun sewing content. Bye.